no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to L-V, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz from Chat Sports, ready to take a deep dive into looking at some key players on the Las Vegas Raiders and trying to project their stats on the offensive side of the football and on the defensive side of the football. But before I get into today's show, I got to give some love to the Black Hole because they are going to be throwing the best kickoff party you guys have ever been to. In fact, it's going to be the biggest Raiders party of the entire year. If you want to go ahead and party with me, party with a whole bunch of Raiders super fans like the Violator, Senior, Gorilla Rilla, we're going to be at the Omnia and Caesars Palace. Chatsports.com/party. Use code Mitch for 10% off. I mean, we're going to have music. We're going to have an open bar. It is going to be absolutely insane. I don't want you to miss it. It's going to be the biggest Raiders party of the entire year. That I can guarantee. All right, y'all, so now we're going to be getting into here some stat projections. I was going to take a deep dive and look at how many, yards and rushing yards Mariota was going to have, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that extra 10 to 15 minutes of work, and I'm going to put that into Derek Carr. So when you look at Derek Carr's passer rating since Gruden has taken over, guess what? It has gotten better and better and better. 93.9, 100.8, 101.4. When you look at his just overall stats with John Gruden, they also have continued to get better and better. And after this last season, career high in passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So sure, the fumbles, they definitely need to get a little bit better. I have them coming down to about 4 to 5 fumbles this upcoming season. So for Derek Carr, my 2021 stat projection for him, I have him going 373 for 549. So he's going to throw the ball 549 times. It's actually 5 times less than he did last season. But I have the yards going up a little bit, 4,476 total yards, 31 touchdowns. That would be his second highest of his entire career, and 11 interceptions. So if I'm going to say 4,476, I want every single person that comes across this video to go down in the comments section and predict how many passing yards for Derek Carr this upcoming season, right? So think about it. Think about all the yards, and I want every single person to put a different answer. How many passing yards for DC this upcoming year? It's time now to go to the running back position, and the only 2 backs that I'm going to talk about, because I don't know the whole thing going on with Rashard and his injury, I'm going to talk about Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. Let's first look at JJ's numbers from 2019, where he had 1,150 yards, 7 touchdowns on 242 carries. In his sophomore season, the yards went down, the average went down, and I've said 100 times that it's probably because of the offensive line, especially losing Richie Incognito. So when I did these stat projections, I projected a healthy line. I projected a healthy Incognito. So I have Jacobs getting 257 carries, 1,130 yards. That's an average of 4.4 yards per carry, and then 10 touchdowns. Now, the reason why I have his carries coming down a little bit this season is because Las Vegas, they went out and they signed a guy named Kenyon Drake, and they actually gave him a halfway decent amount of money, about $11 million guaranteed. So here are Drake's rushing stats over the past few seasons. I really want you to look at these past 2 years. He can run, and he can run between the tackles, and he's going to take some touchdowns, he's going to take some yards, take some carries. Plus, he's going to take some receiving away from Jacobs as well. So when you look at Drake's receiving numbers, the reason why this is important is because he's going to get lined up out at wide receiver. They've been wanting a joker. The Raiders have been wanting a joker at the running back position since they went ahead and drafted Lynn Bowden Jr. That didn't work at all. So when I really thought about the overall numbers for Drake, I was like, well, you know what? Let me compare what Jacobs and Devontae Booker did last season. So Booker, he had 93 carries, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns. I anticipate Drake to get a little bit more work, but it's because he's a more talented running back, but it's also because they're going to try to keep Josh Jacobs healthy. So I got Drake coming down here with 122 carries, 549 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, 4 total touchdowns. But as I noted, he's going to be an important player out of the backfield. 25 grabs on 32 targets, 173 yards, 1 touchdown. So speaking of Kenyon Drake, if you guys want to let me know what your favorite Drake song is from his new album, please go ahead and do so. But 2,000 total yards from Drake and Josh, one of the best running back duos in the entire league. Over or under 2,000 total rushing yards from Drake and Josh. I want you to type O for over. I want you to type U for under. If you're following with my projections, I'm going to go ahead and say under. The wide receivers, they're next up here on the Raiders Report. And I'm going to look at the top 5 position players, right? So the top 5 receivers for this upcoming season. Before I look at those guys, let's try to give you guys an idea of looking at last season. And when you try to analyze numbers from the offensive side of the football, especially wide receivers, I look at targets. Why? Because the best way to figure out stats is based on targets. It's based on opportunity. So Nelson Agholor last year, he had 82 total targets. Hunter Renfrow, he had 77 total targets. Henry Ruggs, maybe if he would have been a little bit more healthy, he would have had more. But remember, this is just Raiders wide receiver targets. Zay Jones, he had 20. Bryan Edwards had 15. So when you think about a lot of these target numbers over here, right, I want you to think about how many potential receiving yards some of these guys are going to get. Jack, it's all good. I don't want to pause this too much. So Nelson Agholor, he ended up having like 896 receiving yards. Hunter Renfrow was in the 600s. Henry Ruggs had 400 and something. Zay Jones was a little bit lower. Bryan Edwards was also a little bit lower. So definitely something to think about. Now, before I give you guys my wide receiver projections from top to bottom, I do got to tell you right now, if you want to hang out with me in Las Vegas, the easiest place to do it is probably going to be at Tailgate Social. So if you guys want to go ahead and have a chance to win some tickets, listen up. Go to Tailgate Social, reserve your table at chatsports.com/table, and tell them Mitchell Renz from the Raiders Report sent you. Here are your potential tickets. They are $3,000 a pop. Literally, all you got to do, show up to Tailgate Social, say Mitchell Renz from the Raiders Report sent me. Now, if you also want to have some awesome food and awesome drinks, guess what? You need to reserve a table. Or you go ahead and give them a call at 702-221-6513. The tables are filling up very, very quickly. So I want you guys to be able to watch my watch party on Monday. I want you guys to be able to watch my Raiders live shows and the shows I'm going to be doing at Chat Sports on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going to be doing it at Tailgate Social in Las Vegas. So reserve a table right now. Chatsports.com/table. Plus, my entire family is going to be there. So if you want to meet some of my family, I would appreciate it. Let's look at now the Raiders wide receiver 2021 projections. I have Henry Ruggs coming out with 46 grabs, 782 yards, 5 touchdowns. I looked at Renfrow's numbers. I had him coming out 52 grabs, 630 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bryan Edwards, a little bit lower of catches, higher in yards, 5 touchdowns. And then Zay Jones, Willie Snead. You guys can see the numbers on screen there. But usually the Raiders like to spread the offense out, especially at the wide receiver position. Maybe one of these guys takes a big jump forward like Nelson Agholor, but I believe they're going to have 3 guys over 500 receiving yards. But what do you guys think here? Give me your guess. Which receiver is going to have the most receiving yards? And I'm saying receiver because obviously even my mother would know that Darren Waller is going to end up having the most receiving yards out of a pass catcher unless he gets hurt. And honestly, even if he gets hurt, he still might get it. But I don't even want to speak that into existence. So which receiver is going to have the most receiving yards this year for Las Vegas? It's time now to look at the tight ends, and I'm only going to look at 2 of them because it's Darren Waller and the Foster Moreau show. When you look at the numbers by Darren Waller over the last 2 seasons, very, very impressive, right? 90 catches in 2019, 107 catches this past season, and then both seasons over 1,000 yards. I mean, from top to bottom, one of the most dominating players on the field. One of the reasons why he was a top 40 player according to the NFL. So when I look at Darren Waller's numbers, I have him coming out to 142 total targets, 101 catches, 1,212 yards, and then 8 total touchdowns. So his touchdown number is going to come down from 9 to 8, but I think that has more to do with guys like Bryan Edwards being healthy and guys, honestly, like Foster Moreau being healthy. Because when you look at Moreau and his implementation in this offense the last 2 years, it was really, really heavily used in the red zone. One of the ways that Moreau was being used even this offseason was very, very heavily in the red zone. So if Foster can stay healthy, I have him coming out with 27 targets, 19 catches, 238 yards, and 4 total touchdowns. So he's not going to be quite at what he had as a rookie, but he is going to be able to stretch the field out a little bit more. You know he has the big play potential, but I have him coming out with 238 and 4 touchdowns. So now what I want you guys to do is take your best guess, because that's what I'm doing. I'm crunching the numbers. I'm analyzing the numbers from top to bottom. So total touchdowns for Waller and Foster this year, let me know down in the comments. I have it coming out as 12. The last position we're going to be looking at here on the offensive side of the football is special teams, and I'm only going to look at Daniel Carlson. Now, Carlson last season was 33 of 35, 45 of 47 on extra points and the field goals, which was, the over the 90%. He was great last year, one of the best kickers. So this upcoming season, I have him going 47 of 48 on the extra points, the extra game. Also, the Raiders are going to be moving the football down the field. The reason why you have the field goal number a little bit lower is more to do with the fact that I think the Raiders are going to convert a lot more in the red zone. So for that, a little bit less field goals, and then that means more extra points for Daniel Carlson. So Raider Nation, you hitting that? You know what I'm talking about. You hitting that? Are you? You hitting that? Well, if you haven't hit that already, please go ahead and hit that sub button. I got Jack whispering in my ear, which is kind of getting the juices flowing a little bit. So make sure you go ahead and hit that. I sure would love you to hit that subscribe button. YouTube.com/Raiders Report. Let's now go to the defensive side of the football. Jack just wiped some sweat off. Now he's just getting all hot and steamy back behind the screen there. Defensive ends. Let's look at the defensive ends here, right? There's nothing more that Jack loves than a nice defensive end. Max Crosby, Carl Nassib, Cleveland Ferrell, Arden Key, David Irving. These are your top 5 defensive end tackle leaders in 2020. It wasn't really all that pretty from a tackle standpoint. But what about the sacks, right? That's what we care about. Sacks. Max Crosby, 7. Carl Nassib, 2.5. Cleveland Ferrell, 2. Chris Smith, 1. These were your defensive end sack leaders in 2020. Now, the reason why I went ahead and provided all that information is because when we look at, projections, it is important to be able to look at the guys that we have now and the current roster. So from going from this to bang to this one, I got Yannick Ngakoue with 40 tackles, 12 sacks. Max Crosby, 37 tackles, 11 sacks. Clee, 35 tackles, 3 sacks. Carl Nassib, 27 and 2. And then Malcolm Kuntz, the rookie, 14 tackles and 2 sacks. Let's now go to the defensive tackle position. Why don't we, right? Now, DT, one of the biggest issues of this Raiders team last year was stopping the run, and that's because the defensive tackles, they stunk. And I mean, no disrespect to Hankins, he was good. Mo Hurst was somebody that I wish they would have kept around. Malik Collins was literally the worst defensive tackle in the league last year. And Kendall Vickers at times played well. But from really being able to get interior pressure, they were bad at it. I mean, we just got to face the fact. They were not good. And if the Raiders didn't blitz, they weren't going to get any pressure. So when you look at these sack numbers from the DTs, Kendall Vickers had 2. Johnathan Abram 1. Mo Hurst had half a sack. And then Malik Collins. I mean, that's obviously not the type of production you're looking for, which is one of the reasons why I think Gus Bradley did such a good job this offseason of trying to find guys who can at least get some interior pressure. So the way that you guys are going to see my projections here, I have them ranked based on tackles. So I think Hankins is going to lead all the DTs with tackles with 32. Jefferson's going to have 30, McCoy 27, Philon 24, Solomon Thomas 20. But the sacks numbers are going to go up a little bit. It was also very hard to project the DTs because Bradley's going to rotate these guys left and right. So if you guys want to come to the best Raiders party of the entire year, you need to go to this link below, chatsports.com/parties. If you want to check out all the events that the Black Hole's putting on, you can also go to the blackholeevents.com. They're going to be putting on parties the entire year. And if you plan on going to a Raiders home game, there is going to be one place and one place only that you should tailgate. We're going to have drink deals. I believe it's even going to be open bar. And celebrities like Jermaine Dupri. This man's got over 2 million followers on Instagram. He is an incredible artist. We're going to have him at our tailgate party. Now, if you guys want to come party with me, come party with guys like the Violator and the entire Black Hole group, and even my man Jermaine over here, you got to go to chatsports.com/party. Use code Mitch to save 10% off. But if you're looking for something to do, if you're looking for the biggest and baddest party among all Raider fans in Las Vegas this weekend and every single home game, there's one place and one place only. That's at the Black Hole. So go ahead and get your tickets right now. They're going quick. Chatsports.com/party. Let's now look at the linebacking position, shall we? This has probably been one of the more entertaining groups of the Raiders over the last, few days, right? So the 2020 tackle leaders, Cory Littleton, Quip, Morrow, Raekwon McMillan, Kyle Wilbur. Some of these names are still no longer on the team. But Littleton, 82, Quit, 81, Nicholas Morrow, 78. When I looked at this upcoming year, I was like, man, they have a lot more depth, but it's a little bit more difficult with some of these injuries. So here's my projection. I'm really high on KJ Wright. I think he leads the team in tackles with 94. Cory Littleton's going to be on the field a ton. He's going to get 84. Nick Kwaitkoski's going to get a lot earlier on while Nicholas Morrow is banged up. But as soon as Morrow comes back, as soon as Denzel Perryman gets his feet wet a little bit more, they're going to get some more playing time as well. But I am very confident in some of these linebackers being able to step up. So I don't have anybody on the team having over 100 tackles, or do I? So who's going to lead the team in tackles this upcoming season? Go down in the comments section and let me know, because coming up right now is a player that I think is going to surprise a lot of people, and the guy that we're going to be talking about is at the safety position. So am I talking about Merrick? Am I talking about Roger Teamer? Or am I talking about the guy that led the team in tackles last season? Yes, I am. That's Johnathan Abram. He had 86 last year. Eric Harris had 61. Jeff Heath had 37. And then Dallin Leavitt at the safety position. These were your tackle leaders. Now, instead of just looking at the safety interceptions, believe it or not, Raiders didn't force a lot of turnovers last year. So I had to go ahead and pull the Raiders INT leaders of all the positions, which was Jeff Heath, he had 3. Abram had 2. Mullen had 2. And then there was 3 players tied with 1, which I believe was Carl Nassib, Nicholas Morrow, and Nick Kwaitkoski off the top of my head. If that's not 100% right, you can come ahead and yell at me. Mitchell Wren's 365. So my Raiders safety 2021 projections. I got 90 tackles for Abram, 1 INT. For Merrick, I got that one coming in with 3 INTs. Tyree Gillespie, Roderick Teamer. I do have the rookie out of Missouri getting at least 1 interception. So that means we got one more position to talk about here, and that's the cornerback position, which, let's face it, is probably one of the more positions that people care about, right? So before I get into some of these players and some of the cornerbacks, who's going to lead the Raiders this season in interceptions? Is it going to be one of the cornerbacks that I'm about to talk about? Is it going to be Merrick? I mean, I love Merrick. I think he's a phenomenal talent from top to bottom. Please let me know down in those comments. All right, y'all, so here are the Raiders cornerback tackle leaders in 2020. Mullen at 64, Lawson 61, Arnett 25, Keyshawn Nixon 14, Isaiah Johnson number 13. So when I really thought about the numbers, I thought about the overall scheme. I thought about the nickel base packages that they're going to use, and I was like, where exactly is somebody like Nevin Lawson going to fit in? Well, I do have him in the top 5 with 26 tackles, but I have Mullen and Hayward. They're the top 2. They're going to be your top 2 corners. Nate Hobbs, 34 tackles, 2 picks. Mullen, 61 tackle, 3 picks. The hardest player to project on this was Damon Arnett. Easily Damon Arnett, because he has the opportunity, if he can play the way that I know he can, he could have a lot more tackles, a lot more picks. But if he gets his head up as you know what, he might be a lot lower on this list.